Welcome to the Green Podcast. My name is Dylan Welch. I'm the CEO of green.org and Dylan Welch Media. Our goal with this podcast is to bring you the biggest names and leaders in renewable energy, clean technology, and sustainability so that you can stay up to date with the latest trends and everything that is happening in this world. Not only that, you'll get some action items for your life so that you can apply some amazing things and make your world a better place as well. Let's get the show started. Real quick, before we kick off this episode, I want to announce that we have our fall 2022 Green Summit in San Diego, September 17th. Tickets are now available, so get yours today. It's one day of different speakers in renewable energy, clean technology, sustainability, all leaders sharing their vision in TED Talk style presentations for what the world will look like with a more sustainable future. There's only 300 available seats for the event, and I know they're going quickly. There's already less than 300 by the recording of this. So go grab your ticket, green-summit.org, and let's kick off the episode. Thank you very much. We've got John here. John is the CEO of ERI, and I'm fortunate enough to be pretty familiar with sort of the e-waste situation that we're facing right now because one of our bigger sponsors of green.org is a company that kind of deals with that. And so it's a problem that very few people realize we're facing. But John, first off, thank you for being here. Really appreciate it.
Happy to be here, Dylan.
John's a serial entrepreneur, the CEO of ERI, like I said, one of the biggest organizations dealing with this e-waste situation that we're facing. So, John, let's kind of dive right into it. Can you catch up everybody on what e-waste is and kind of the problem that we're facing with all of this?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you again, Dylan, for having me. It's an honor to be here today. E-waste is the backside problem and crisis that was born out of the technological revolution. And when I got in this industry about 20 years ago, it was the fastest growing solid waste stream in the world. Now, about 20 years later, in 2022, it's the fastest growing solid waste stream by an order of magnitude of 2 to 4 times the second fastest growing solid waste stream. So think of it this way, Dylan, if we all agree that your generation is now driving us and making a shift, a very important shift from a linear economy to a circular economy, it makes total sense that we've got to tackle the fastest growing solid waste stream in the world, which is electronic waste. And why did it go in 20 years from the fastest growing solid waste stream to now the fastest growing solid waste stream by an order of magnitude of 2 to 4 times? Because cars and automobiles have become computers on wheels, because the Internet of Things. If you think about Nest and Ring and Alexa and all these different types of great gadgets that we wear and the wearables that we wear. I've got one on my arm here. Most people have them somewhere on their body. This issue of electronics has become ubiquitous to our lives, which is fun because it's made our professional and our personal lives more connected, more fun, more interesting. But there's a dark side to it, and it's our responsibility to recycle all electronics when they come to their end of life, because the fun part about it, when done correctly, it's a zero waste, zero landfill, zero emissions business, and all the commodities get to go back for beneficial reuse. So that's really where we are right now. So there's a great opportunity, but there's so much more to do together.
Well, that's good to hear that you're able to get there, because we are, the biggest tech companies are the biggest, best marketers. They all push us to get the latest, model, which comes out every year, and no one really thinks about, what's happening to that last model that you just got, which basically either works perfectly or you can recycle, what it's made of. So before we get into that, can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got up to this point?
Yeah, well, I started off, I was a native New Yorker, and when I moved to Los Angeles, I was a real estate developer in downtown LA. And during that time, we had what was then called the Rodney King riots, which are now called the LA riots. And I was the co-founder of Homeboy Industries. And our motto, which was, the motto that Father Greg Boyle gave us, who was my co-founder, was nothing stops a bullet faster than a job. And so I realized back then that you can make a profit doing your work every day, but you could also make a difference. So my wife and I decided back then that every business that we start from there on in, we were going to make a difference beside making a profit. So I went on to start in 1998, the year Google was founded. I co-founded financialaid.com, and we democratized the student lending industry, have started many other smaller ventures in between. And then ERI, when I sold financialaid.com in 2004, I came into ERI with my co-founders, Aaron Blum, Kevin Dillon, Tammy Shegerian, who is my wife as well. The four of us started this company, and we were off to the races. We started this in Fresno, California, with one small location, about a 70,000 foot location. We now have 1,100 employees in 12 buildings across the United States. We service every zip code, including Alaska and Hawaii. And we've become the largest electronic waste recycler and hardware data destruction company in North America.
That's amazing. And I mean, just from starting, you know, we can all kind of imagine how much this industry has changed just from the amount of electronics that we all use on a day-to-day basis. What changes have you seen since you started the company in the early 2000s?
Great question. A couple of changes. First of all, no one really cared that much about sustainability back in 2004 and 5 in America. The sustainability revolution hadn't come here. ESG and circular economy and net zero and zero waste weren't terms that were part of our vernacular lexicon, modern day lexicon. They now are, which is great. People care, people know that the science was right, climate change is happening. We're continuing to liquidate this precious resources on this great planet that we all get to live on. And we need to reverse that. A, we need to arrest that, and two, we need to reverse that. Number two, we also found out that electronics weren't going away, that there's more electronics than ever before. According to the EPA, we all have 23 or so extra devices laying around our house or our offices that are no longer in use, that need to be responsibly recycled. So we're all part of the opportunity, the issue, and the solution. Number three, cybersecurity also, when we started this business, wasn't part of this issue. So when you think about it, Dylan, think about the paper, the data that's on paper that gets to be shredded by great companies like Shred-it and Iron Mountain and other great companies that destroy data on paper. Who's going to destroy the data that's on hardware to protect us from cybersecurity, cyber criminals, and things of that such? Well, we evolved our business to also do that. So we also not only responsibly recycle old electronic waste, but we also, as a part of fee for service, we also destroy all the data that's in your old hardware. That's become a big part of our business. And in fact, about a year ago, my partners and I wrote this book, The Insecurity of Everything, and it became an Amazon bestseller, not because we're Shakespearean type of writers, but because the information contained therein is very important information with regards to destruction of data that happens to be in hardware. Something that not a lot of people think about. Overtly, we think about the data that's on paper because it's very seeable and it's very tangible. The data that's in our old hardware is more intangible, but just as, if not more dangerous. So we wrote this book. It became an Amazon bestseller, and I'll share this with you, Dylan, for you and any of your listeners in this great conference that would like a free copy of this book. If they just email you or email me directly and say, I saw you or I heard about your book, I'd like a free copy. We wrote this not as a moneymaker, but as an education tool, because again, you can spend millions upon millions of dollars on protecting your organization or corporation, or government entity on software solutions. But if you misappropriate your old hardware, even if it's benign misappropriation, you're putting yourself and your organization at great risk. So this book is available to all members of your conference for free. We will mail them a free copy if they request it to you or to me directly, and happy to share this information. And this is another great trend that has happened during the time that we've run and built ERI into the company that it is today.
Yeah, appreciate that and appreciate sharing. And you know what's funny is I have a good friend, he's like former special forces, now he works in cybersecurity, and it's crazy just like the ability that people can hack and get into your data and information. And that's something that I never would have thought of in a million years, is an old phone or an old computer. I know that's kind of a problem. So what do you guys do to sort of offset that problem?
Two or three things. Some companies ask us to come and destroy it on their premises. So we have trucks that go around the country and will destroy their hard drives or other data containing material on their premises. Other companies ship it to us, and we built in 2008, 9, 10, we built the world's largest electronic waste shredders. Well, we built that originally to create a faster throughput of electronic waste and get the cleanest commodities out the back end. But in truth, now they've also become concurrent with getting the cleanest commodities, they become the world's largest data destruction machine. So then a lot of clients just send us all their material, and then we put it through those shredders as well. And we're talking about everything from wearables that people wear, printers, copiers, fax machines, things you think that don't even contain data. Fax machines and copiers on their hard drives contain every copy that ever crossed those machines ever. So if the bad guys get their hands on those and reverse engineer, which is not hard to do for the cyber criminals, the exposure is tremendous, Dylan. And let me just give you a real stat. During the pandemic, I took courses and got my degrees in cybersecurity at both MIT and Harvard. And in 2015, the cyber criminals made away with $3 trillion successfully. In just 5 years, 2020, 21, let's just call it 5 to 6 years, that number's doubled to $6 trillion last year. So when you grow up and your parents tell you crime doesn't pay, that is true for most crimes, not for cyber criminals. Actually, it is paying off for the cyber criminals.
Yeah, don't get any ideas out there, all right, people.
No.
No, that's really cool. I imagine it's like that scene in Office Space where you just send some guys out with like a baseball bat, and they're just, that's a good way to take some stress out too when you're sick of this technology. No, that's fascinating. Just out of curiosity, how do these people get that information? Do they literally go to landfills and find old, technology? Do they go to like locations? How does that work?
Great question. So for instance, I'll give you the simplest way that it happens. Someone in the government, this is something that happened a month ago. Government entity, big company, represents part of our defense structure of the United States. They call us up. They say, well, we have this much electronics we need you to recycle. So we give them a quote. Let's just, for this discussion, say it's 50 cents a pound to recycle their electronic waste. And we call the guy back a week or two later, and the guy says, oh, sorry, you didn't win the bid. We said, well, who won it? And he says, whoa, Joe's Scrapyard in Andover, Maryland won it. We said, Joe's Scrapyard, well, how much are they charging you? Oh, they're just coming and picking up all our electronics from our government entity for free. And Dylan, here's the sad little truth about responsible recycling in any sector, whether it's paper, whether it's plastic, whether it's tires, whether it's food, there's no such thing as free responsible recycling. Someone has to pay for this overhead. Someone has to pay for all our certifications and to stay in compliance with all the government organizations like DTSC, OSHA, EPA, etc. And just like an investment banker or a lawyer or a doctor or any fee for service, responsible recycling costs money. So if someone offers you to recycle your old electronics or anything you have for free, it's pretty much going to be sham recycling, which means they put it in a container and they sell it to the highest bidder off our shores. Could be in China, could be in India, could be in the Middle East. Now, a little story that goes along with selling containers off our shore. I was approached by the FBI, a division of the Homeland Security division of the FBI, about 5 years ago. In fact, their offices are upstairs in my building. I'm on the first floor where I'm speaking to you from. They're on the third floor. So they came downstairs and met with us. And they said, John, about 20 years ago when you got in this business, the people that were buying the containers off of our shores of the United States, full of electronics, really wanted to just capture and get the gold out of it, the copper, the silver, and the other precious metals. Unfortunately, they said now, 30 to 40% of the buyers, this is about a 5-year-old story, are people that are adverse to our Homeland Security safety. And those people want to buy our old electronics pull the hard drives, throw the carcasses in the desert or burn them or throw it in the ocean or a river. And then they like to reverse engineer our corporate or government secrets for either ransomware attacks or for homeland security attacks. So this is more than just an organizational liability. It could also become a homeland security liability as well, Dylan.
Wow. Yeah. And Danny mentioned in the comments, dark web. So there we go. Clearly I'm not cut out for this industry, but no, that's really crazy to think about. Thank you for sharing. On a more positive note, what are you kind of more excited about in terms of innovations when it comes to the e-waste recycling sector?
Great question. Is along the way also another trend has become AI and robotics. And we were the first recycler in our space, in electronic waste space, to deploy AI and robotics to help us faster and better and cleaner recycling methodologies in our facilities. That's been a huge success. And we're going to continue to bring more AI and develop more AI and more robotics in all of our facilities across the United States. That's a huge, huge opportunity to make the processes better for most industries, including the e-waste recycling industry.
So when, and I know you guys recycle millions of pounds of e-waste, like what's the process when you receive these technologies, when it gets to you?
Yeah, when it first comes to us, everything is barcoded and scanned into our what we call the Optech system, which is our software tracking system. We then track the materials as it comes through our facilities. If it's allowed to be fixed up and resold by contract, we'll test it. If it's fixable enough, we'll then fix it, retest it, repackage it, resell it, which is a very legitimate, incredible form of recycling, of course. If it's a contract that says must destroy no matter what the condition, old or new, then we'll bring it in and we'll remove any screens or any glass, and then it will go through our electronic waste shredder and it will get separated into the materials, which the materials are in pretty much in order of volume: steel, aluminum, copper, plastic, and then you have some glass, then you have precious metals, which are gold, silver, lead, palladium. And then now you even have the trace minerals that are coming out of our batteries, which is lithium and cobalt and nickel and things of that such. So the fun part about our industry is when done right by ourselves or other good competitors, legitimate, incredible, and responsible competitors, all of the commodities that come out of electronic waste, when you keep it above ground and don't pollute our landfills with it, is shreddable, retrievable, and then can be sold for beneficial reuse to smelters, which means beneficial reuse is just fancy terminology for it goes back into the circular economy and new products are made out of it. So it's a great business when done right. And we zero waste, we're zero landfill, and under our roofs, we're zero emissions. Of course, the trucks bringing us the materials and the trucks going out, Dylan, have emissions. But in terms of a zero emission under our roofs, we're zero emission and zero waste and zero landfill. That's a very exciting circular economy and ESG story.
Yeah, that is amazing. What advice do you have when it comes to, just the average person being more sort of accountable for their e-waste? Like, do you recommend buying a used product? Do you recommend, buying a recycled product, holding on to your product longer? Because you're probably in a tough situation where you're like, yeah, we want more stuff, we turn a bigger profit, but at the same time, we want to be mindful of the environment. So where do you kind of find that balance, and what advice do you have?
The real balance is this. I don't think it's good to vilify any one organization, retailers who sell and make money from these great electronics, OEMs that create and innovate and create more fun products that we all get to enjoy, or us as just the consumers at large. Really, we're all part of the enjoyment of these great products, and we're all part of the problem, and we all now need to be part of the solution as stakeholders. So it's not my job to preach to anybody what to buy, how to enjoy these products. But what I do want to say is I believe we all agree on a few points. One, we all want to drink cleaner water, breathe cleaner air, and have a cleaner planet and leave behind a cleaner planet for our children and grandchildren than we inherited. Therefore, it's our imperative responsibility to become part of the solution. So no matter if you buy a new or used materials, think about it more when you're disposing it. Make sure you're giving it to a responsible organization that you know is going to do the right thing. These great OEM, all the OEMs want good things to happen because they want to sell new electronics, but all the retailers have some version of take-back programs. I know Best Buy has a consumer take-back program. We're actually partners with them, and we manage that program with them. Staples does as well. And there's return policies for the other great retailers like Amazon, Costco, Target, etc., that are very liberal because no one wants anyone to be stuck with a piece of electronic they don't like. So my point is, be responsible. Be part of the solution. So when these things come to their end of life, don't give it to an irresponsible recycler. Don't leave it around. Don't let it go to a landfill or stick it in your waste can. Responsibly recycle these materials so we all can have a cleaner earth together.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. I don't think there's it doesn't help, vilifying these technology companies. They've clearly changed our lives, and connected us in many ways.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing when the car came out. Yeah, a car came out and there were car accidents and people were injured. You don't stop, this new technology coming out. You adapt and you put in safety features to do that. So that's exactly kind of what you're doing. Is you saw, this is what's happening. We're going to find a solution to fix this. And I think it's really smart and it's really important because, I have some of the data here from you guys, but can you just share like how much, pounds a year you actually recycle? Because it's pretty mind blowing.
Yeah, well, we can recycle up to 1 billion if we need to. We've already recycled about 3 billion pounds so far, but right now we're up to about 17 million pounds or so a month of electronic waste recycling, which means that zeroes out, that none of that goes to a landfill. And so to us, even though we're succeeding and doing that much volume, the truth be known, when you look at the UN statistics, Dylan, from 2018 or so, only 17% of all electronic waste and all electronics that are used on this planet are being responsibly recycled. That means there's an 83-point delta that we still get to become part of the solution for it. As ERI, as my good competitors, and as just consumers, we all can do better in terms of our actions. So it's still, to us, the top of the second inning. So no matter how big we've gotten and how many pounds we're doing now, there's still a lot more to do, Dylan.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, we had a sponsor who was in somewhat of the e-waste, and I love learning about what they're doing because, a lot of us, we want the latest technology, the latest phone, the latest, watch, computer. But what I thought was really cool was they would take these and actually sell them or even give them away to developing countries where, they don't need the latest iPhone 13 or wherever they're at. They just need a way to connect to, their classroom or for their children to connect to Zoom or whatever. So I think that's really cool. And that's something I never thought about is, my old iPhone model just sitting there when that could be given to you or someone else and either recycled and, made into something new or given to someone else that could use it and benefit from it.
Right.
So where do you see the industry going in the next 5 to 10 years? Because it sounds like this isn't going to be slowing down.
No, I really see more responsible recyclers opening up, not only here in the United States, but around the world, which is a great thing. This is not a zero-sum game. There's plenty for all of us to go around. That, if we're all going to be grabbing that 83%, there's still plenty for all of us to do. And there's just going to be more electronics. Electronics are going to become more and more ubiquitous. There's going to be more EV cars. There's going to be more drones, more robots. There's going to be VR coming out and other type of electronics that we're not even thinking about today that are going to continually delight us and make our lives continually more interesting. But it's going to continue to be our responsibility to become part of the solution.
So out of curiosity, maybe you don't have the exact numbers, but when you break it down by product, what are kind of the most products you see? Is it phones, computers, other things?
That's a great question. By volume, of course, it's television sets in terms of weight. But in terms of singular items, we get tens of thousands of phones and tablets every month. And all sorts of gadgets. Anything that's containing a battery now, we get that because that's considered electronic. So lithium-ion batteries and things of that such. Anything that's containing those devices, we get now. Small, big, large. It's so amazingly varied, Dylan, I can't even tell you. I mean, it's stuff that I never thought about, whether it's little dolls or other things that children play with that have batteries in them. It's still then considered electronic, and then we have to recycle it. Things that we didn't think about when we got in the industry.
What do you ever, or are you seeing a bigger rise in, like, do you take on electric vehicles too, or e-bikes? Is that something that's been
Yeah,
picking up?
100%. It's funny you said that. I never would have dreamed. Well, obviously, they didn't even really that exist in a big public way, but Tesla's become a client. Other huge brands have become clients. CarMax has become a client. Because think about it this way. If you lease an EV car, a modern day EV car, or you buy one and then you trade it in after 2 or 3 years or 4 years or whatever, that hard drive has all of your precious data on it. Same thing if you go to Hertz or any other great rental agency and you rent a car. The car will, at some point, prompt you to say, oh, do you want to download your phone or your tablet? And you'll press it because you're driving, you're looking for your directions, and you'll just press the accept button, whether you meant to or not. And by the time you leave that car and turn it back into your rental agency, again, it has all your data, including your banking information and your client's information and your own personal information. It's a dangerous situation and world out there now. So if Shred-it can become a ubiquitous brand, shredding data on paper, there's more data in electronics now, and there's more data-bearing devices than you could even imagine when you just sit back and think about it. And that's what we're doing now. We're shredding so many of these devices now because people need this stuff to go away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know that's always kind of a criticism for electric vehicles too, is, you know, they're going to sit out in junkyards and their batteries are going to leak. So it's good to know there is a solution for that next phase when they get there.
100%.
Yeah, and I'm sure that obviously that's just going to keep picking up as well. So real quick, you know, we're going to start to wrap things up. I have a couple more questions. When it comes to protecting our data, you know, at the end of our device's life, like, what advice do you have for us that we could do to just make sure that that doesn't get stolen or hacked into or sold somewhere?
Well, for sure, don't put your device up on any of those platforms. I'm not going to name any names. I wouldn't go sell your devices publicly. I would get it back to some form of responsible entity, whether it's bringing it in for a trade and trade up at Best Buy or Apple or any of the great retailers out there. Be responsible for your own sake, for your household's sake, and for your organization's sake. And I'll give you a trend that's happened just in the last couple of years during the pandemic. So the pandemic happened so fast, Dylan, that the regular rules and regulations, or let's just say guardrails, that chief information security officers or other chief technology officers give the employees at a company when they're sitting in a controlled environment in their office sort of flew out the window, because all of a sudden we were told to stay home. We were told to be on lockdown, and we were told that just work out of your home. And then all of a sudden Zoom became a thing and everything else. Well, what happened invariably is companies sent hardware to people's homes for them to use for their Zoom calls and for all their working. But we're all guilty of one big trend. Before long, our personal hardware and electronics we started using for professional calls, and our professional hardware we started using for personal calls or Zooms or whatever. Now, this wasn't done with malice. Probably 99% of this was done benignly. But what you have is now personal electronics and business hardware and electronics being cross-contaminated with the household's information, all the children's information, date of birth, social security numbers, banking information, and for small and big organizations, on people's personal cell phones or tablets or laptops or hard drives or copiers, you have all the corporate information, goodwill, and also the client's information. Mm-hmm. That's a recipe for disaster and danger. So again, making sure people responsibly destroy and recycle their old hardware that's been used the last couple of years in their home and probably is cross-contaminated with information, both for the organization they work for and their own household information, is really important to protect that individual and the organization they work with and the household they live in.
That's crazy. Now I'm just thinking about all the information on my phone, and I'm like, I should probably go through and delete some of these apps. And it's good to know. Well, John, thank you so much for being here. I just like to always wrap it up with what's one call to action that we can share with our audience to either get involved, to support you, to improve their lives a little bit, to be more sustainable. What could you share with us?
Listen, we're all in this journey together, honestly. And whether it's with e-waste or any other type of waste or any other type of sustainable behavior that you can do, no one expects you to become Al Gore overnight or some other tree hugger, but just take baby steps in terms of being more thoughtful and responsible as a stakeholder in this planet Earth together. And we are going to then leave the world a better place when we're all done with this journey.
Amazing. John Shegerian, thank you so much for being here. Really fascinating, really cool. If anyone wants that book, connect with us. I see a couple people in the comments. I'll make sure you get connected. Congrats on just seeing sort of, this opportunity and taking it, and also building a business that has a positive impact. Again, that's been kind of the theme for the day. So I appreciate you, coming on here, taking some time out of your day, and excited to follow along on your journey. It seems like it's been a exciting one. So thanks for everything you're doing.
Grateful to you, Dylan, and your audience, and thanks for giving me this platform and opportunity today. I wish you all the best as well.
You as well. Thank you so much. Thank you, John. If anyone's interested in connecting with John, let us know. We'll make that happen. Otherwise, we're going to keep it moving. Thank you so much for tuning into the episode. My name is Dylan Welch. Appreciate it. As always, stay up to date with the latest information on green.org and dylanwelch.com. Dylan Welch Media is a full-service media and communications agency dedicated to promoting, marketing, and helping businesses in clean tech, renewable energy, and sustainability grow, get more clients, get more customers, get in front of their ideal clientele. If you have any more questions, feel free to reach out. If you're interested in joining the Green Summit, go to www.green-summit.org. Reserve your ticket today. There's very few spots left, so make sure you get on that ASAP. Thank you, and have a great rest of your day.